So out back here, we're making a couple passes. I think I had it set on 3. And I mean, this is the plug that it's pulling. So again, these are all pretty consistent in size. And you can see them. I mean, I think it does a good job. Okay, now that we've had a chance to kind of run the machine for a little while, was able to log a few hours on it. It was comfortable. Definitely not a bad riding machine. I mean, definitely the bolster back here does help. Nice and comfortable. So, but let's dive into a couple of things here. We'll kind of get into some access of certain things. So your hydraulic reservoir and filter are back here, and this literally slides right off, and you can get your access into your hydraulic oil and your filters down there. There's a part number if you can see that. So pretty easy access to your hydraulic oil and then any of your other wires or connections under here. The back of the pad here has kind of this little lip that catches on there, and it basically reinstalls the same way. Tighten those back up, and you're ready to go. We'll get into this here just in a little bit too, but your rear tine access. Oh. So, what Scag has on their patented design for this chain drive system, first thing you notice back here, anybody that's run previous chain drive systems, there's no chains inside the tine box here. So that's kind of where Scag's trying to separate themselves. You know, Scag did try, I think, to get access to the patent of the hydraulic driven, but from what I understand, they were unsuccessful with that, according to the rep that I was talking with. But with this tine box back here, you do have Zerk fitting here. You got a Zerk fitting for this bearing here, another one here. This one's obviously independent, this one's independent, and this one is connected with your drive system, and then same thing over here. So let's jump over here to one of the, I guess, biggest topics is the chains. You know, some see this as good, some see this as bad, but it is a different design. It obviously gives you the cover here for your chains, and literally to get into that is very similar to the back tine box there. These come off, and you're in and accessible to that. The adjustments for these, this is the adjustment for your rear drive tires, and then you have your inner one here, which is down there, and that's what your adjustment is for your tines. I did get some pictures from the owner's manual from Scag. Simply the adjustment for these, 3/4 inch wrench goes on here, 3/4 inch wrench on the back side, and loosen. You can slide this up, make your adjustments as needed. Same thing for your other one on the back side here. If I get the wrench right. There we go. And then your other one goes on here. So again, they're chains. Chains got a bad rep through the years, but it's at least accessible. You can make your adjustments there. Obviously, it's not hydraulic driven. Other brands do have some of the adjustments up here, but yeah, so that's your chains, that's your access, and again, your cover, 3 bolts to put them on there, and your adjustments are literally right there. One other thing I wanted to mention, I'll throw some pictures of the pictures that I have of the adjustment into this video. That way everybody can kind of see what Scag has for those. All right, so let's talk about, I guess in my opinion, what I guess some of the goods and the bads are. Again, in my opinion, I've always been a Kawasaki guy. Any lawnmower that I've had, I've always tried to buy with a Kawasaki motor. Never had Kawasaki steer me wrong. But again, I've always been a Kawasaki guy. Would love to see this machine with Kawasaki on it at some point, maybe for their 2nd generation. Like I said, I'm sure Kohler makes a good motor, but I would definitely like to see Kawasaki on here. Battery access is back there. Not the easiest place to get to, but you know, you're only running this for, you know, weeks out of the year. You know, depending on where you're running it at, if you're going to take the battery out of it to keep it in a more climate controlled area. But kind of battery access is back there. On the front casters here, I'm not sure if these are supposed to be Zerk fittings or not, but you know, I'd like to see something with a Zerk fitting on there instead of just a cap. The rear step plate here doesn't fold up. If you kind of get a profile of this, I mean, if this would flip up, it would give you a little bit more space on a trailer, especially if you're hauling multiple units. But as of right now, this platform does not fold up for transport. It's right there where it's at. The last thing is tire width for the rear drive tires. And you can see right here, so 18 by 6.5, 8 are the tires. So not overly wide. But again, with what Scag's doing with their drive or their chain system, anybody who's run, you know, Toro or Exmark know that a lot of their other equipment is more tucked up underneath here. Their chains are actually set, if I remember correctly, one here and then one is further in this way. I think that's where they're able to get some more of the width because these chains are not basically stacked next to each other. So, but tire-wise on the back, you know, this machine's, you know, less than 48 inches, not by much, but you can fit it through a 48-inch gate. So that's kind of the, I guess, the sacrifice that they had to make was the rear tires there. Kind of moving from the stuff that I see is more on the bad end into, I guess, stuff that, depending on the person, you know, you could have it as good or bad. But just the chain location, you know, again, some guys have sworn off chains. Some guys might see this as a, you know, a better design, that there's covers for them to help keep some of the debris and stuff out of there. And again, there's no chains back in the tine box area, so that is going to help. You do have down in this portion here, just on the other side of this, you can get into where the chains are going to be at, basically right under this spot here. But again, you don't have direct chains right inside this box. So again, some guys are going to say chains. I've sworn them off. Other guys might see this as a kind of a good different setup. Let's talk about the tine speed here, lifting and lowering. Wasn't bad. Definitely it's not the fastest thing out, but it didn't do too bad. It didn't take long to get used to the tines moving up and down. You know, I was able to get some pretty good quick turns out of it. Obviously, you have to raise the tines to make your turns. You can't just keep them down the entire time. You can do, I would say, a very gradual turn if it's around, like, you know, a mulch bed or something like that. But otherwise, you know, you got to make sure that the tines are up when you make your turn. Moving on to the goods, you know, about this machine is that, one, it was comfortable. Like I said, I was able to put a few hours on the machine. It was definitely comfortable. Like the pad here to lean on, was definitely nice. The gas fill was another one. Again, easy access. I do like the fact that there's a gas gauge. There's an on-off switch or on-off valve for your gas. So when you're storing it for the season, you can keep the gas out of the lines and the carburetor. So hopefully you'll get many years of use out of the machine. I do like the depth gauge. It does make it pretty easy and quick. Again, if you want to dial this up to 4, you can. If you want it at 3, one too far. Again, it's nice and quick and easy. Kind of foolproof. The other one thing, I do like the fact, nice sturdy equipment for your linkage between your forward and reverse handles. No cables. I mean, it's solid. One of the main things that I do like about this machine is the fact that the foot pedal down here has the ability to switch it between what the switch does. So if I get these out of the way here, so if I'm standing up here, I can make the switch either raise the tines by pushing the pedal down, and when I lift my foot off the switch, the tines would would automatically go back down. So that to me is nice, especially if you're on a hill. You can lean off to one side or the other. You don't always have to be standing on that switch. If you're a guy that likes to, make sure that, you push the pedal and the tines go down, you have that ability and option there as well too. So you have that option, like I said, to select between there. You can also, with the depth gauge down there, you can tell whether your tines are up or down. Right now, this is in the up position. When that arm swings back, that's going to be in your down position. Nice handlebars here, especially when you're, in either reverse or forward. You've got the ability for a little something to hang on to there. Moving on to some of the other things that make it pretty nice. Obviously, your parking brake handle is there. Basically, it just grabs the tire here, but you have a lot of clearance here. So any of the other plugs that you're pulling hopefully will not get stuck in between the tire and the fender, or the tire and the brake itself. If we talk safety, one of the other safety factors, you have what I would call a dead man switch, which is right here. So if I'm riding on the machine, I'm going to obviously be down, and if I step off, that switch is going to basically activate and turn the machine off. So just something as a safety feature. Again, the tine access is very nice, easy to get to. They actually have greasable Zerk fittings, so you can actually put grease to the bearings. One other thing with the tines and safety is the fact that Scag has, I guess I'm going to call it a sensor built into this unit that, if you're running along, and let's just say that you're running at 400 on your gauge here for your depth gauge, and you hit a rock with the tines, and let's say it jumps up to 700, and it senses that. What this machine is going to do is actually raise the tines back up automatically, basically to help kind of protect itself from either bending the tines, breaking something on the machine. So just another little safety feature for the machine, especially if you're going to spend the money on it. You want to make sure that you can obviously be out in the field all day and not have any breakdowns. And I actually had it happen to me once in the yard here. Went over a spot, and the thing actually retracted on its own, and then you have to go back and basically reactivate the system. But just kind of a safety feature, I guess, to help protect the machine from damaging itself. Tie downs, we obviously have a good amount of tie downs. You have one on each side in the rear, and then if we move to the front, there's actually a couple spots very close, but you have one here and another one here. Same thing on this side. So depending on how you tie your machine down, you can obviously secure this to your trailer, and it's not going anywhere. You're not running straps across hoses or, trying to find other spots to tie it down to. You've got some definitely dedicated spots there. So now always the biggest question, what's the recommendation? Is this a good unit to buy? Is this not a good unit to buy? Obviously, when you look at the aerator market, those that do this for a living, or at least do these or offer it for their customers, I would say that there's different levels of machines now that are out there and on the market. You obviously have the hydraulic driven. A lot of guys love those. A lot less adjustments, everything else on those. But in all honesty, I would love to give this thing a try. I honestly would. And by doing that, give it a good season. Aerate a bunch of lawns, see how it does. Put some hours on this thing. This thing still has, low hours on it. It's obviously Scag's first generation of these, but you talk about a stout machine. Very heavy gauge metal. I believe, and don't quote me on this, but I believe this motor may be the higher horsepower compared to some of the other ones that are on the market here. I don't quote me on it, but I'm just trying to go off of strictly memory here. But I would actually like to maybe get a unit like this, to even try to rent one for a season just to give it a shot. Why not? If it can make you some money, it'd be well worth it. Like I said, it's comfortable to ride on, and if you can ride on this thing all day without any brakes or anything like that, that's what it's all about. One of the things that I have in question, and I'm curious to see from Scag, is, again, what are they doing? What are they doing right here? What are we doing with the cedar box? Other ones on the market, to be able to overseed and aerate at the same time, it's pretty slick. It's pretty slick. So, but again, I'd like to try it out. I think it would be, like I said, there's different price points. Not by much, but there's different price points on the market, and obviously different machines and just the way that they're set up. But if you can get some business out of it, I think it'd be well worth it.